Before this whole fiasco, I was the definition of a low-maintenance neighbor. I waved when I saw people, mowed my lawn on Saturdays, and minded my own business. I didn't gossip, I didn't meddle, and I certainly didn't look for drama. But apparently, drama has a GPS, and it knows exactly where you live. The main star of my quiet little life was Bentley, my golden retriever. He was the kind of dog who could charm a tax auditor into forgiving your debt. Bentley didn't just wag his tail, he meant it. Everyone in the neighborhood loved him, or so I thought. It all started one Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen, pouring coffee, when I heard the unmistakable sound of my front gate creaking. Bentley barked, not his mailman bark, but his "I don't trust this situation" bark. I peeked out the window and saw Mrs. Thompson from across the street, the HOA president, in my yard. She was wearing her signature wide-brim hat, pearls at 8 a.m., and an expression that could curdle milk. Bentley was on the porch, tail wagging cautiously, but she stood there like she was inspecting a crime scene. I stepped outside. "Morning, Mrs. Thompson," I said, still half asleep. "Something wrong?" She didn't even look at me. "Yes, something is wrong. Your dog was barking yesterday afternoon. Twice. And it disrupted the peace of the neighborhood." I blinked at her. "Twice? That's it?" "He saw a squirrel. He has feelings." Mrs. Thompson's mouth tightened. "We have noise rules in this community. And I expect everyone to respect them." "Right," I said slowly. But Bentley wasn't. "I'm giving you a warning," she cut me off, pulling out a pink slip from her bag like she was serving me divorce papers. "Next time, there will be a fine." She set it on my porch railing like it was contaminated, turned on her kitten heels, and strutted out. I stared at the paper. Warning, excessive noise from pet. I laughed out loud. Bentley, the friendliest, most polite dog in America, was now officially a criminal. Later that day, I told Bentley the news. He wagged his tail and sneezed on the pink slip. I took that as his legal objection. But I figured, okay, fine, it's just a warning. Surely, that's the end of it. Spoiler, it was not the end of it. 2 days later, I came home from work to find a note taped to my door. It was from Mrs. Thompson again. "Your dog was seen off-leash on your property. This is a violation." I stood there, rereading it. Off-leash, on my property? My backyard was fenced. The only off-leash time Bentley had was when he ran from the porch to the grass for a bathroom break. Apparently, in Mrs. Thompson's universe, a dog existing without a leash on land you own was a threat to civilization. I crumpled the note and tossed it. I could feel irritation bubbling up, but I still told myself, let it go. Don't start a war. I should have known better. The final straw came that Saturday morning. I was making pancakes when I heard Bentley barking, not aggressively, just that happy "someone's outside" bark. By the time I got to the window, I saw her again, Mrs. Thompson, standing at the fence, holding her phone like she was recording evidence for a court case. And then she said, loudly enough for me to hear, "If you don't shut that dog up, I will have animal control take care of it." I froze. Bentley trotted over, tail still wagging, blissfully unaware that the neighborhood queen bee had just threatened his freedom. And that's when I felt it. That little click in my brain. The one where you go from "I'll be the bigger person" to "all right, let's dance." I was done being the quiet neighbor. The moment Mrs. Thompson threatened Bentley, a switch flipped in me. You can mess with my lawn, my trash cans, even my mailbox. But my dog? That's a red button you do not push. I spent that Saturday afternoon doing what any reasonable, level-headed adult would do, planning a petty, entirely legal, and 100% HOA-proof revenge campaign. First step? I pulled out the HOA bylaws, all 42 pages of them. I'd never read them before, but now I studied them like they were a sacred text. And oh boy, Mrs. Thompson had given me a gold mine. Turns out, she was breaking more rules than a teenager at summer camp. Her hedges were 2 inches taller than the maximum allowed height. Her mailbox was painted a non-approved shade of eggshell instead of snow white. And my personal favorite, she had decorative garden gnomes, which the bylaws specifically forbade. Bingo. The next morning, I printed out a polite but firm letter citing each violation, complete with section numbers and page references. I slid it into her mailbox with the precision of a covert operative. By noon, I heard her yelling on the phone through her open kitchen window. Phase 1, success. But I wasn't done. Remember the noise violation she slapped on Bentley? I decided it was time to test how much noise the neighborhood could handle, entirely within the rules. So, I bought a set of wind chimes. Not the gentle, tinkly kind. No, I got the massive, deep-toned, church bell on a sailboat kind. I hung them on my porch, right where the breeze hit strongest. Every gust of wind made them sing like a monastery on a hilltop. HOA rules didn't mention wind chimes. Not once. I checked twice. Mrs. Thompson lasted 3 days before she stormed over. Those chimes are excessive, she barked. Funny, I said, sipping iced tea on my porch. I checked the bylaws. No rules about them. She glared at me like she was trying to set me on fire with her eyes. But the piece de resistance was my next move. Bentley had always loved wearing little bandanas. So I got him a new one, bright neon orange, with bold black letters that read, HOA's Most Wanted. We took long, leisurely walks around the neighborhood. People laughed, took pictures, and asked me the story. I told them everything. Word spread faster than a yard sale on a Saturday morning. Mrs. Thompson's glare became her default facial expression. The more she tried to catch Bentley doing something wrong, the more she exposed herself as the neighborhood busybody. And the more people began to side with me. It was beautiful. But then, she crossed a line I didn't see coming. One Wednesday afternoon, I came home to find an official letter taped to my door. It wasn't from her this time, it was from Animal Control. The letter said there had been a formal complaint about my dog being dangerous. My hands shook as I read it. Bentley. Dangerous. The same dog who once got scared of a butterfly and hid behind my legs. And I knew exactly who filed it. That was it. This wasn't just petty anymore. This was war. I stood in my kitchen holding that Animal Control letter like it was a subpoena from the universe itself. My hands were shaking, part anger, part adrenaline. This wasn't just some neighborly squabble anymore. Mrs. Thompson had officially tried to label Bentley, my sweet, butterfly-fearing fluffball, as dangerous. And in that moment, I knew, this was no longer petty revenge territory. This was full-blown HOA war. First, I called Animal Control. The officer on the line was surprisingly nice. Honestly, she said, we've had complaints from her before. You're not the first. That little nugget of intel was gold. Mrs. Thompson had a history. Second, I needed allies. I went door to door with Bentley, telling every neighbor the story. I kept it simple, she's trying to get my dog labeled dangerous. I didn't have to embellish. The outrage on their faces did all the work. By Friday, I had a neighborhood coalition. We were like a small-town political movement, united under one banner, Save Bentley. People made signs. Someone started a group chat. Another neighbor even baked cookies shaped like paw prints. Mrs. Thompson, meanwhile, seemed to sense the tide turning. She doubled down, filing yet another HOA complaint, this time about my lawn ornamentation. Which, to be fair, was technically true. Because over the last week, my front yard had evolved. First, it was a small, Save Bentley sign. Then it became 3 signs. Then it became a full-on, mini protest camp, complete with a blow-up dog statue wearing sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt. Every morning, I'd sip coffee on my porch while Bentley lounged beside the blow-up dog like they were co-hosting a late-night talk show. And then, came the meeting. HOA's monthly meeting was always in the community center, a beige little building with plastic chairs and bad coffee. Normally, 5 people showed up. This time? The place was packed. Half the neighborhood came, all wearing homemade shirts that said #FreeBentley. I brought Bentley. In his HOA's Most Wanted bandana, naturally. Mrs. Thompson walked in and froze like she'd just walked into a surprise intervention. The meeting started, and she immediately launched into her accusations. Bentley is a nuisance, she snapped. He barks constantly. He barked once, I cut in. At a squirrel. Who was trespassing. People laughed. She tried to regain control, waving papers in the air like a prosecutor. But then my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, a retired lawyer, stood up. I've reviewed the HOA bylaws, he said, and there is no evidence, photographic or otherwise, to support these complaints. Furthermore, Mrs. Thompson herself is in violation of multiple clauses. Gasps. Murmurs. A dramatic sip of coffee from the back row. Mr. Jenkins then read her violations out loud: the gnomes, the hedge height, the illegal eggshell mailbox. It was like watching a courtroom drama, except the defendant was my least favorite neighbor and the stakes were my dog's reputation. By the end, the HOA president had no choice. All complaints against Bentley were dismissed. Mrs. Thompson was issued formal warnings for her violations. The room erupted in applause. Bentley, sensing victory, let out a single, triumphant bark. As we left, Mrs. Thompson shot me a look that could curdle milk. I smiled sweetly. See you around the neighborhood, I said. That night, I sat on my porch with Bentley, sipping a celebratory glass of wine. My wind chimes sang softly in the breeze. The neighborhood was peaceful again. And while I'd gone back to being the quiet neighbor, everyone now knew one thing. Mess with me if you want. But never, ever, mess with my dog.